Pencils, scissors, and glue sticks are all normal things you'd find in a Northland classroom. But now a push at the Minnesota Capitol wants to add an AED to a teacher's toolbox. An automated external defibrillator can double or triple survival rates if someone has a cardiac arrest. Currently, schools and sporting events aren't required to have an AED, but that could soon change. I sat down with the Northland School District to hear if they have AEDs and what this mandate would mean for them.
I graduated here in 2009 and left for a few years, but ended up coming back.
At Nashua-Keewatin High School, Justin Sundquist works as the administrative intern and activities director.
I've been in this building this is my first year, but I've been in the other building 9 years, and it's been pretty much the same protocol since I've been here.
From student to staff member, Sundquist has seen faces change over the years, but he says being prepared in case of a cardiac emergency has always remained a priority.
I think our school district knows how important it is to be prepared for these situations, and knowing how quick response is important. We want to have them on site and not have to wait for, say, EMTs or a paramedic to arrive.
Between the two school buildings in the Nashua-Keewatin School District, there are 2 stationary AEDs and 1 mobile AED. The movable AED is used by the Spartan sports teams and brought to the baseball and football fields. The district bought all 3 with its own money.
It's important that we're as responsive as possible, and we're allocating money in a way that is keeping students and the community safe.
According to the American Heart Association, 9 out of 10 cardiac arrest victims who receive a shock from an AED in the first minutes survive. That's why one of the AEDs located here at Nashua High School is so close to a place where many people gather for events, for sporting games, for all sorts of things, the gymnasium.
I think it's really important that they are accessible during those sporting events, because a majority of the cardiac events are happening during those events.
An accessibility need that is also being highlighted at the Minnesota Capitol. A bill under committee consideration would require Minnesota public schools to have an AED at each school facility and athletic venue or event. The legislation would allocate $2 million in funding for districts to buy an AED, which normally cost around $1,000.
This bill will help save lives all across the state of Minnesota, not just for the kids in our schools, but for our community.
The American Heart Association lobbied for the bill. According to the Sudden Cardiac Arrest Foundation, cardiac arrests affect 1,000 people a day and strike all ages.
Part of the reason that this legislation is so important is that schools are really community gathering places. Not only is this where our kids spend all of their days, but communities gather in our schools in the evening.
Along with having AEDs, the legislation would require schools to implement a cardiac emergency response plan, identifying who would respond and how. They'd all be trained on CPR and AED use. Senator Bonnie Westland, a DFLer from Plymouth, said the bipartisan support for her bill she co-authored highlights how lawmakers from both sides of the aisle want to see cardiac emergency preparedness in schools.
At the end of the day, we're talking about saving lives, and I think that appeals to people, especially when we're talking about saving lives at our schools.
While he understands the importance, Republican Senator Rob Farnsworth, who represents the Nashua-Keewatin area at the Minnesota Capitol, said he isn't sold on the idea of another mandate for schools, especially smaller schools with less staff and resources.
I'm never very excited about mandates, but I think I would like to see a program that would allow schools to voluntarily participate.
Facing a looming budget deficit at the Capitol, Farnsworth said he isn't sure there's funding for the legislation.
This is just one more mandate that if they pass this, it's probably not going to be funded, which means that it's either going to come out of the school budget, it's going to go on the property tax levy, it's got to come from somewhere.
At Nashua-Keewatin schools, Sundquist said mandate or not, students and staff well-being is the heart of their district.
Response time is very important for these cardiac events, so having what we need right here is very important.
In Nashua, Natalie Hepner, Northern News Now. And as of now, the bill is included in the Senate's education budget bill, but not in the House's. Once both chambers pass their budget, a conference committee will then decide whether to include the bill in the final education budget. Meanwhile, this is the last year of the Nashua-Keewatin High School building. All of the students and staff are moving to a new K-12 building that broke ground in May 2023. Sundquist said the AEDs are coming with them to the new building, and the school plans to place one AED near the activities complex.